cuts from Washington continue to cause concern here in Massachusetts.
With Governor Healey spotlighting a pullback of $90 million intended to be used for disaster prevention efforts. NBC 10 political reporter Matt Pritchard is here in the studio. So, Matt, what's behind this?
Yeah, Glenn, JC, the Trump administration sees this as wasteful spending, slicing through another program and setting off alarm bells for Bay State leaders. Another day and another funding cut.
He cut $90 million to Massachusetts.
Bay State Democrats sounding off after the Trump administration announced the end of the Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities program, canceling all BRIC applications from 2020 through 2023 and clawing back $882 million.
It's an impairment of just overall federal support for Massachusetts.
18 communities losing those funds, including Acton, Chelsea, Everett, and Boston, which is set to lose nearly $23 million intended from Oakley Park. Mayor Michelle Wu calling the action, quote, unlawful, and adding the city will fight to restore this funding to protect our communities.
We have close collaboration between the delegation and the governor and her team on this, and I know that the governor is working to insulate Massachusetts from those impacts.
But FEMA maintains the program was wasteful and ineffective, a spokesperson saying, quote, it was more concerned with political agendas than helping Americans affected by natural disasters.
So now we've got to go into court?
Words that have Democrats working to act, even with limited options in Republican-controlled government.
That's our only recourse, to go into court and actually try to undo that. We have had, a fair amount of success, probably winning on 80% of the court of the cases that we're bringing.
We hope that the courts will continue on a pathway of ruling against Trump.
Now, funding those court battles is already gaining traction here in Massachusetts. The House just yesterday unveiled its budget, including a boost for the Attorney General's office. In the studio, Matt Pritchard, NBC 10 Boston.
Matt, thank you. Let's bring in NBC 10 political commentator Sue O'Connell to join the conversation.
Sue, President Trump is not the first to threaten to withhold federal funding. So what is the big deal this time around?
Well, you're right, JC. This is a practice as old as time. It even has a couple of names. It's called cooperative federalism or the power of the purse. Historically, the Environmental Protection Agency has frequently threatened to withhold money to states that don't comply with the Clean Air Act. And recently, the Supreme Court ruled that the Affordable Care Act's threat to withhold all Medicaid funding unless states agreed to expand the program was unconstitutionally coercive. But, big but here, there are limits on how much funding the federal government can threaten to withhold to force a state into compliance. But that's not what's happening here. Trump is actually threatening and may be carrying out on punishing states whose leaders don't agree with him.
Yeah, on that point, Sue, it does seem like the funding being withheld is tied to blue states. That's the current environment it feels like we live in. So do the attorneys general of these states have a legal argument that they're being discriminated against?
So if a president tried to cut funding to states just because they voted blue, the attorneys general would absolutely have a legal case for discrimination. The Constitution, which we're all reading a lot of these days, requires equal treatment regardless of political leaning. So the federal government can't just punish states for how their citizens voted. That violates equal protection, free speech rights, and separation of powers. So if Trump uses federal dollars to punish political opponents, the administration, as our lawmaker said on camera, will face serious legal challenges.
The federal money that you're talking about, where's that coming from?
That's a great question again, JC. When Donald Trump threatens to withhold federal funds from Massachusetts, he's not withholding his money. He's withholding our own tax dollars that we already paid into the system. And here's the irony. Massachusetts consistently sends more money to Washington than it gets back. So we are effectively subsidizing many of those red states that form Trump's political base. So when Donald Trump threatens to cut off funding to blue states like ours, he's attempting to weaponize our own contributions to the federal government against us. The federal treasury is not President Trump's personal checkbook.
NBC 10 political commentator Sue O'Connell. Sue, thank you.
You're welcome.